Hello and good evening and welcome. Welcome to another film developing stream, another constant agitation stream. It's been a while since I've done one of these, if I'm being totally honest. It's at least a few months. I can't even remember the last time I did one, but we're here again. So, welcome. I will be developing 2 rolls of black and white film this evening. Good evening, Anxious Doe. Welcome to the party, as per usual. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday evening with me. I've been streaming at very unusual days of the week. It's just how things shake out. So we are going to be developing 2 rolls of 35mm black and white. Now, 35mm is something that I have not done a whole lot of in recent years, actually. Ever since I got my medium format camera. 35mm is just something I haven't used a whole lot because medium format is better, artistically speaking. So, but you're in for a treat tonight because I'm going to be developing a couple of rolls of film that I have never shot with before. Now, as you know, if you've watched me do film developing streams before, you know that I am an Ilford fanboy. I exclusively, when I shoot black and white, it's Ilford film. It's always Ilford film. But we're having a little bit of a twist tonight in the story. So tonight, the 2 rolls I'm going to be developing for the very first time, never shot with, I'm going to be developing a roll of Ilford Pan F Plus, ISO 50. And the second is not a Ilford brand film at all. It is Adox HR-50. Now, why am I shooting with film that I've never shot with before? Well, one, sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit as an artist. But also, the reason why I have experimented with Adox is because Ethan, my spouse, sent me a while ago, it was a Tumblr post of someone shooting with Adox film, but it was a black and white slide film, which is a positive film. That means that you develop that film twice. Once to get the negative, and then you develop it again to get a positive. That is what slide film is. If you've ever... this is your age test right here. If you know what a slide projector is, the film that was used in a slide projector to make slides was called slide film. And those images are positives as opposed to negatives. And so Ethan sent me this Tumblr post that somebody shot with black and white slide film made by this company, Adox. And the results came out gorgeous. And as I did more research on that particular type of film, because I will never shoot with slide film. Well, I shouldn't say that. Never say never, I suppose. I found that the base for that slide film is Adox HR-50, which is a regular black and white film. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try this new to me film, and I decided, well, you know what? Since I'm going to be experimenting with 50 speed film, let's get an Ilford 50 speed film so I can compare results. Ilford is made in the UK. They're a UK film. Adox is a German film. Adox is made in Germany. So, hey, low bass. I'm doing okay, all things considered. It has been a rough day. Not for things beyond my control. It's we had a bajillion inches of rain dumped on us in New York over the last 24 hours. We basically had a nor'easter, but instead of a billion inches of snow, we got a billion inches of rain, and I woke up to find a lake in my basement. So half my basement was flooded because we got a bajillion inches of rain in a very short amount of time. And I will do the hats off in a short while. So I had to have an emergency call to the fire department this morning to pump out my basement because my drains just they couldn't handle it fast enough, just with the sheer volume of water that was coming into the basement. So, but that's fine. The rain has stopped. My basement is draining. I've got fans down there drying everything out. So, you've redeemed the hats off. Let me get a hat. I'm already sweating my balls off. This is just going to make this even more the case. But, so everything is fine at the moment. So we're going to be developing 2 rolls of black and white develop. We're going to 2 rolls of black and white. Again, Ilford Pan F 50, which I've never shot ISO 50, and Adox HR-50. So with the Ilford film, I'm going to develop it the regular way using my standard Ilford chemicals. Adox, however, you cannot use Ilford ID11, which is the developer that I have in bunches. Adox actually makes its own special developer for use on its film, which I have right here, Adox HR-Dev. So New film, new chemical, and that'll be fun. So, it's been a while since I've done a film developing stream, so I'm going to take you through the entire process. That isn't a cash grab at all. I think you can develop this with the Adox with, well, let me just crack open the box. You can develop it with other Ilford chemicals, but, I mean, this stuff was relatively cheap. I ordered it online, and there we are. Oh, it just has Adox developers on here. But Ilford we can develop using my standard ID11, So yeah, we're going to take you through the beginning. We're going to go the entire process. I'm going to show you how, because it's a question I still get asked all the time, especially this year since I've been selling my photography at a big gay market craft fairs. People ask me, how can you... So do you have a darkroom? No, I do not have a darkroom, but you can develop film in daylight like this as long as you have a film changing bag. Because you need a film changing bag to solve the problem of, well, how do I get my film from this to this? You have to do it in the dark. And since I've been doing this for 23 years, I've gotten pretty used to it. I'm pretty good at groping around in the dark. Take that as you will. So you need a film changing bag, and you need the various accoutrements to develop the film. You have a dark sack. If I have a dark sack, it sounds like I need to go to the doctor. You're afraid of the dark? Well, I'm so sorry. I can't help you with that. So you need the film changing bag. You also need a film developing tank, which comes with a number of components that you need. You need a film loading spool here. I prefer the ones that come with these wide film guides, because the ones that typically come standard with these tanks have these little tiny teeth, and you'll kill yourself trying to load film onto them. These make the job a lot easier. We have this. Am I missing a component? Oh, no, I don't. There it is. We have a center pillar, which goes in the spool. And what that does is that once you stick it in the developing tank, you can use that to agitate the film, and we'll get to that as we go on. Funnel. This is a light, tight funnel that snaps into place, and this is where you pour your chemicals into. And, of course, the lid, because constant agitation. You need to be constantly moving the chemicals around, and if you don't have a lid, it'll all spill out, and you'll be a very sad panda. So, I am going to I have a roll of very expired film, and I'm going to show you what this process looks like in the daylight. But what you're about to see gets done entirely in this bag. I'm using this expired film for demonstration purpose. So, the first thing you would do is that you would take all of your components and you'd put them in the film changing bag. It's a double layered bag that's got a zipper. So once you put all your components in here, you zip it up, and then you stick your arms in these sleeves right here, and you do everything by touch. But I thought that's where the cat... Oh, well... I hate to disappoint you. So, just for demonstration purpose, I'm gonna use a roll of very expired medium format film, but the process is the same, regardless of 35 millimeter or 45 millimeters. I'm just gonna bring this up. So, what you would do with your film is that in the dark, you would be trying to separate this from your film container. And how you would be going about trying to pry this thing off is that in this bag, before you zip it up, you would also have a bottle opener, because you use that to pry off the top of the film. Now it's all wound up, it's all spooled up because it's in there. And so the first thing that you would do is, in the end, completely by touch, you'd find the little tail here, the leader, and you'd have a pair of scissors in here, and you would try to just cut that as best you can just to get a straight edge. Makes loading this easier. And then you would find the beginning of the film. Again, completely in the dark. You'd find the beginning of the film, and then you would start putting it on here. So again, you'd try to guide the film on those white little tabs there. So you'd load the film up like this, pull it through, and this thing ratchets. So as it moves back and forth, you'll see the film being loaded. As I am making sure that the film goes on. As you get near the end of the film, depending on the maker of the film, it's either like the plastic is attached to the center of the film canister like this, and you have to do a little tear to finish loading up the film, or it's attached with a piece of Scotch tape. Either way, you remove that. You remove the end of the film from the center. You finish loading it up. Take the center spool, load it into the tank, put the funnel on. It either clicks or screws into place. Put the lid on. And you're ready to go. Film's loaded in here. And yeah. So that was your demo. Now I'm going to do it for real. This is legitimately the hardest part of the entire process. Like, this is, when you are first doing this, the amount of frustration that I felt as a 17-year-old trying to load one of these onto the, trying to load one of these was just, oh, man. And as tempting as it is to, just fucking give up, you really have to be careful when you cannot let frustration get the best of you, because your hands, number one, will start getting sweaty. And you don't want to, when you're holding the film, if you're not wearing gloves, if you're holding your film by bare hands, you want to hold it at the edges. You don't actually want to have your fingers touching the film, because nothing sucks more than trying to make a darkroom print or scanning your negatives and editing them in Photoshop or Affinity or Camera Raw or Capture One, and seeing a nice fat fingerprint on a beautiful. It is so difficult to edit fingerprints out of a negative. So ugh. So anyway, all right, let's do this for realsies. So in the bag goes our developing tank, our funnel, our lid, our loading spool, which I've set back to 35 millimeter instead of medium format, my little bottle opener, center spool, center column, I should say, the scissors, and yeah, I've got everything. So zip you up. All right, and again, this is legitimately the hardest part of the entire process. Like, once the film's in here, you're golden. So let's just bring the camera down so that you actually can see what I'm doing here. So instead of just groping around in the dark, which I do a lot of anyway. Something that also, with these film changing bags, as you see me putting my my hands in, there is elastic around the opening of the sleeves. All right. Ah, yes. I'm missing the most critical component of this, the film. Duh. I'm like, where's the film? Where's the film? I'm looking right at it. Anyway, yes, these sleeves have elastic around, so it forms a pretty tight grip around your arms to keep from, to try to minimize light leaks. All right, here we go. So we're loading up the Ilford now. It's like you have to finagle the bottle opener so that it gets just right. Come on, you can do it. So close, so close. Gotcha. All right. Film is out. I'm grabbing the scissors right now to cut the tail off. Excellent. All right. There's the edge of the film. Where's my loading spool? There it is. Okay. Loading the film onto the reel now. All right. Film is loading. Now there are ball bearings on either side of the loading spool here that catch the film and drag it forward. There we are. We've reached the end of the film. We just tore it away from the center. Okay. Where's my centerpiece? There we are. Tank. There we are. Funnel. Funnel has been clicked into place. Lid going on now. And et voila. The film is now in here. And then I have the detritus, which is the empty canister, what I pried off, the tail. We can take the bottle opener out, scissors, and the centerpiece that the film was attached to. So there we are. All right. All right. Now we're ready to develop some film. So actually, we're going to start with the Ilford first, since I'm most familiar with that. The Adox is already loaded in here. I did that before stream started. I figure we'll do the really experimental one second. All right. I need to take this hat off. I'm dying. Woo. Oh, man. Okay. So now that I have loaded the film in here, it's ready to go. Now we have chemicals that we need to get ready. So typically, all you need is 3 chemicals. You just need developer, stop bath, and fixer. Developer does exactly what it says on the tin. Stop bath stops the developing dead in its tracks, and fixer fixes the exposure to the celluloid, to the film. What fixer does is that, what developer does is that it reacts with the light-sensitive silver to draw out the image. Fixer removes any undeveloped silver and makes the film safe to come out into the light. So those are the three chemicals that I use. I also use 2 more chemicals to speed up the rinsing and drying process. I use Wash Aid, which removes residual fixer, and then I use a chemical called Ilfotol, which is basically, as I always call it, it's jet dry for film. So So if you ever use a dishwasher, you use jet dry to prevent water spots from forming on your dishes and your glassware. Ilfotol, it's the same exact concept but for film. Because water spots are also hard to edit out. And I don't know, what your water is like, but I do have some hard water, and I'd really rather not have any water spots. So Ilfotol stops at that. So, your temperature of your chemicals will determine how long you are developing film. I ideally like to develop my film at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 20 degrees Celsius for any of you who do not use American Freedom Units. And because I have actually never developed this film before, I just want to see what my options are for developing times. And fortunately, the inside of this box will tell me. Now, you can develop film typically in one of three ways. You can just use stock developer, where you just pour it right out of the jug and you develop off of that. The method that I use and the method that I was taught when I was in school was 1-to-1. So 1 part developer, 1 part developer, 1 part water, filtered or distilled if at all possible. And then there's 1-to-3, 1 part chemical to 3 parts water, which is the longest, takes the longest time. So I am using Ilford ID11. That is my standard developer. And according to the instructions here, using stock at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, it takes 6 minutes and 30 seconds. If I'm doing 1-to-1, which is the method that I will be using for this film, it's 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And if I went 1-to-3, it's 15 minutes. So before the stream started, I made up my chemicals, and so I have them ready to go. All of the chemicals are colorless or odorless, with the exceptions of Stop Bath. Stop Bath just looks like a very, very dehydrated person's piss. If your piss looks like this, drink water immediately. Fresh Developer has virtually no smell, but Fixer, even though it is colorless, smells like vinegar. And that is how I can tell the two apart. I've also labeled my containers to let me know what chemicals are what chemicals are where. So I just, yep, no smell coming from the developer. Yep, that's vinegar, or smells like it anyway. So we're ready to go. Oh, let me just check my temperature. It is 68 degrees on the nose, so we are going to start developing that right now. So, is it 68 on the nose? Am I reading it right? It's between 60, it's about 67, so I'm going to add a little bit longer. I'm going to make that just an even 9 minutes developing time. So what we're going to do is we are going to start my timer. Oh, Jesus. All right, we're going to give that 5 minutes then. I just have that set for my, because normally the film that I use, Ilford Delta 400, it's 14 minutes. So, well, I suppose in the meantime, since my chemicals are around 67 degrees, I'll warm them up a little bit. I'm going to have to do that for the Adox anyway, because that requires 72 degrees. So, don't mind me. Let you warm up a bit. Yes, I most certainly did. Well, Alan Wake is a very, very delightfully cryptic game. The ending was slightly unsatisfying, although until I remembered that there is a sequel to this game. Alright. Let's warm you up. Just a fraction. What I actually was very much appreciative of is that the citizens of the town know that freaky shit happens, and none of them try to tell, with the exception of the doctor, try to tell Alan Wake that he's crazy. Now it means I have to go back and play the Bright Falls, replay the Bright Falls DLC for Control, because I have long since forgotten what happens in that. Because I hadn't played Alan Wake, so there was some confusion there. Anyway, Low Base, how have you been? I know it's been a while since I have caught your streams, so hopefully you're doing well. I know life has been insane for me these last couple of months, so hopefully you're doing all right. I'm going to turn this down just a bit. Yeah, now we're at 68. We were at like 67 before, which, you can develop. When you have chemicals that are either above or below the recommended times, you then have to add or subtract depending on the temperature. If your temperature is colder, you have to add time. If it's warmer, you subtract time. So I like to try to develop at the exact recommended specifications. I like to develop at 68 or as close to 68 possible. All right. Yeah, we're exactly at 68 now, so I do not need to adjust. But the clock says 8:30 and we are just about there. So let's get ready to go. Once I start this, I am committed. And away we go. Constant agitation for the first 30 seconds. Polyscopics bringing on a raid. Welcome on in, everybody. Welcome on in. I have just started to develop my first of 2 rolls of film for the night. I am developing 2 rolls of black and white film, 35 millimeter black and white film, so welcome on in. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday with me. I have just started developing a roll of Ilford Pan F50, which is a roll of film that I have never used before in my life. Incidentally, what have I shot on these rolls? Dead things. Cemeteries, specifically. This roll that I am now developing, this was shot at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, New York, which is probably one of the biggest cemeteries I have ever stepped foot in. There's something on the order of like 20,000 plus burials in there. Also, a former president is buried in that cemetery, Millard Fillmore. But welcome on in, Raiders. I am E. Royvis on Twitch, but professionally I am known as Brian J. French, your friendly neighborhood photographer. If you are interested in some of my photography, or you want to see what I'm all about, I just put the link right there in the chat. Repairing a Hasselblad. Ooh. I dare say I am not that skilled where I know how to fix my own cameras. So what you are seeing me doing is you are seeing me agitating the film for 10 seconds at the top of every minute. The purpose of doing this is to constantly keep fresh developer cycling over the film. It's to encourage even developing. I've never shot with ISO 50 before, and what ISO 50 means is that you need very, very bright conditions, ideally, to shoot this in. Like, typically, if I'm shooting in bright conditions, I shoot ISO 100, and something I discovered with ISO 50, because I shot both this and the Adox that I will develop after this. I shot it in like bright sunny conditions, but what I discovered was that the moment I went into shade and tried to shoot in the shade, I was getting light meat. It was like, nope, you have to use a tripod. We're talking 1/30th, 1/45th. I'm like, ooh. Because I did not have a tripod on me that day. 1/60th or faster, baby, because I didn't have my tripod that day. Hello, Alhis? I hope I'm not butchering that too badly. Welcome on in. I'll get pulled over at that speed. Yeah, when I was shooting, I'm like, all right, it's a bright sunny day. There's not a cloud in the sky. What the hell? I'm getting 1/30th of a second at f4. I'm like, brr, okay. So when I eventually scan these for the next photography stream and start developing them, there might be a few that wound up being underexposed, but you know, First time shooting, I expect to learn what works and what don't work, and we'll see what happens. Just like I did when I shot with Ilford Delta 3200. I'm like, all right, lessons learned. Lessons learned. For when I shoot again. Oh, I just noticed I should probably start running the sink to get my rinse water to temperature. So let's do that. When you're developing film, it's a good idea to make sure that all of your chemicals and all of your rinse water are pretty close as far as temperature. So like all my chemicals are at 68 degrees, and so my rinse water should also be around 68. Oh, absolutely. At 3200, yeah, embrace the grain, all right. Like at that ISO, you're good. You're not gonna get. It is not a fine grain film. All right, we're coming down to the end here. Next will be the stop bath. Yes, because I think you mentioned to me actually when I did that 3200 that it's really more like ISO 1000. Yeah. All right. Coming down here. Okay. Let's stop the developing. Remember, this is a light, tight funnel, so I'm not doing any damage to the film at the moment. We're going to put the stop bath in. And we're going to constantly agitate this for about 30 seconds. That's all it needs. I usually do about 15 or so of these inversions. That's plenty. Next up will be the fixer. Six, 7. Oh, excuse me. 8, 9, 10. It very much is anxious, Doe. I am inclined to agree. Okay. We can dump this out now. And next up is Fixer. Okay. Yep, that's Fixer. And Fixer, we do the same as we do developer. Constant agitation for the first 30 seconds, and then agitate every 10 seconds at the top of each minute. Now for Fixer, there is a range. It's between 2 and 5 minutes. So I kind of like to go a little more than halfway. I like to do about 4 minutes. But it is not, timing-wise, it's not as precise as it is with the developer. What the temperature? What in Sam Hill is my rinse water temperature? Oh, Jesus Christ. Perfect, right? 68 on the dot. That was a lucky pull of the faucet. I always do, Anxious Doe. So yes, there will likely be a photo editing stream. Either it probably won't be next week. It'll probably be 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm doing obviously the film developing right now. I'm doing an Ori I'm continuing my Ori playthrough tomorrow, and then I am not streaming next week. I am busy next week, so there will be no stream next week. So 2 weeks. So, if you just had your 3 chemicals, your developer, your stop bath, and your fixer, after that, you could be done. After that, you would then run this film under running water for about 15 to 20 minutes. However, I don't need a mosquito on my hand, thank you very much. However, I do not want to be running this for 15 to 20 minutes. I pay for water. So the chemical you just saw me pour was a chemical called Wash Aid. So what's going to happen when the fixer time is done? I'm going to run this under the water for a first rinse for about a minute. I'm going to run this for a minute, and then I'm going to be pouring this Wash Aid and then constantly agitating for about 2.5 minutes. And what that's going to do is that's going to wipe out, it's going to get rid of all of the residual fixer that's still hanging onto the film. And what this will do is that this will cut my final rinse time from about 15 to 20 minutes down to 5. All right. Now, if you had an actual darkroom, what you would do at this point is that you take this fixer and you would dump it into a used fixer jug, because you could reuse the fixer for prints. I do not have a darkroom, or at least I don't have a proper darkroom set up as of yet, so we'll just dump this. If I was an industrial sort of if I was an industrial darkroom, I would save all that used fixer and send it back to Kodak or Fuji or whatever for silver reclamation unit to reclaim the silver. Because as I said, the fixer is removing any undeveloped silver from the film. So that, what I just poured down the drain, contains very, very trace amounts of silver. And if I actually wanted to acquire enough silver to actually be worth something, I would need to develop something on the order of like over 100 rolls to draw out enough silver to get like an ounce. Welcome back, Low Base, with your wine and cheese. Fancy! Ow. It would be a kick-ass band name, wouldn't it? Speaking of kick-ass bands, though, I did get to see. I went to 3 concerts in the last couple of weeks. I went to see Dave Matthews twice, and then I went to see Muse last week. All right, we have done our first rings. All right. Next, as I said, next now comes the washade. So here we are. Again, this is going to get any fixer that is still hanging around. And we're going to do constant agitation for 2.5 minutes. And when it's done, it's going to look all sudsy inside here. It ain't sudsy. It's not soap. Well, it is sudsy, but it's not soap. But yeah, like when I used to work in photo labs, when I used to work in the Walmart photo lab, there was big jugs hooked up to the back of both the film developing machines and the print machines that were that would take out the used fixer, and we'd pour that into a silver reclamation unit, and we would send that back to Fuji. And when I was a photography student in high school and college, we had silver reclamation units as well. This is a great way to get your arms worked out, by the way. Just saying. Twitch is about to subject you to some forced capitalism. My apologies. Look, you could be having wine and cheese. Now, it'd certainly be much fancier as to what I had for dinner, which was a sub from Subway. Gotcha, you son of a bitch. All right, we are done with the washade. This is how I know it's summertime. and the fact that my cold water tap, my cold water, it's all the way down to cold. It's 71 degrees. That's my coldest. But as I said, you're going to see it. It's all nice and sudsy in there. You'll see it better when I do the Adox because it's a smaller tank. That's all right. 70, 71 is fine. So at this point, now it's free to come out into the light. So now we're just going to let that go for 5 minutes. And while we do that, I will get my Ilfotol, which is right here. I keep all of my chemicals in these glass jugs. And they're all labeled, so I have that one labeled Ilfotol. Last step. So while that's rinsing, I'll give you the next film that we're going to be developing is Adox HR-50. Again, it's a German film, made in Germany. Ilford's made in the UK. And you cannot use ID11 on this film. You can't use my standard ID11. So I had to get Adox's own special developer, which... So because this is in liquid form and not powder, like ID11, which I have to reconstitute, this is basically ready to go with the following caveat. So to make Adox developer, a working developer, it's 1 part chemical to 49 parts water. Well, how the fuck do you figure that out, you might be asking? So I know that my small tank is approximately, it says for a 35mm film, it takes 300 to toss it between the Fortress of Doom and the Normandy SR2. So my smaller developing tank that is only meant for 35mm, it says on the bottom that it takes 300 cc's of liquid. 300 cc's, okay, it's a cubic centimeter. A cubic centimeter is exactly the same as a milliliter. They are interchangeable in most applications, and it works in this case. Did I miss a message? Here's the question you've been posing to us. If you could live in any residence from any video game franchise, what could it be? I did miss that. Thank you. If I could live in any residence from any video game Ooh. The Normandy is a good choice. But I will say what I had the most fun doing was having a number of residences when I played Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I mean, the game is so gorgeous. So that's a possibility. Spencer Mansion. Yes. Yes. There we go. Spencer Mansion. Yeah, that's the obvious choice, of course. Spencer Mansion, the Shinra Mansion. What about What about Salazar's Castle from Resident Evil 4? Residence is evil, yes. Not Resident Evils, Residence is evil. But the thing is, that naming convention only works in English-speaking countries because it's Biohazard in Japan. So that only works here. Although funny you mentioned the Normandy low base, because next year for its 20th anniversary, I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the original Mass Effect. All right, we are just about done on the final rinse, and so we'll do it with the last step, which is our Ilfotol, our photographic jet dry, as it were. Okay. And I'm leaving the water going because we're going to actually, you know what? Since I know that the coldest that my water is getting is 70 degrees, I actually don't need to adjust. Adjust, so I'll actually turn it off for the time being. All right. Ilfotol. Last step. This I don't measure. All you do is you pour enough of it to cover the film. There's a liter in this jug, and we're going to be using less than that. Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying, low base. I'm just saying that I'm going to be doing a casual playthrough of the original Mass Effect next year for its 20th. All right. So this is the last step, and when this is done, we're going to take the film out, and we're going to have it dry. I already have my space upstairs in the upstairs bathroom ready to dry. And I am putting gloves on. If you have sensitive skin, when you're developing, use gloves. I've been doing this for so long at this point that I'm just like, nah. But I'm wearing gloves at this stage because the film is wet, which means the emulsion is wet, which means it is incredibly vulnerable at this point. It is prone to damage if you are not careful. But the Ilfotol is done, and so here we are. And as I always say, to quote the late, great Raul Julia as Gomez Adams, "Spirits above me, give me a sign. Shall I be joyous, or shall I be damned?" Well, I have exposures. I have exposures. And they look good. They look tasty. So it looks like, at least from this early stage, that I did not fuck up. So I'm going to be right back when I hang this up. And we'll get back and start roll number 2. All right. We are back. And our front. We're both here. Let's get this off. All right. Oh man, I am thirsty. I am sweating buckets here. Okay. So for our next trick, we're going to develop the Adox film. Adox HR-50. Adox HR-50, which is unlike any film I've ever shot before or anything I've ever developed before, because we are going outside the regular. It's actually in the mid 60s outside, but I mean I'm in here, I'm moving around, I'm standing up, I'm doing stuff, I'm just warm. So, but Adox developer. So, to make working solution for this, it's 1 part chemical to 49 parts water. So how the fuck do I calculate that? So this small developing tank that is only meant for 35 millimeter, you cannot develop a medium format roll in this. It says it takes 300 cc's of liquid. So what the hell does that mean? You convert that to milliliters, and then you convert to ounces. And what 300 cc's translates to, or 300 cc's or 300 milliliters to ounces, comes out to about a little over 10 ounces. But what I'm going to wind up doing is, so that I have enough, is I'm going to make 12 ounces of working solution here. So that comes out to 354.8 milliliters. I'm like, all right, let's draw that down. I'm going to draw that down to 350 milliliters. And so what it winds up being is 7 milliliters of this Adox developer to 343 milliliters of water. 343 milliliters of water comes to about 11.5 ounces. So basically, it's half an ounce of this stuff to 11.5 ounces of of water. So that's what we're going to do. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this shakes out, personally. So let's do it up. So let's take 11.5 ounces of water. Or 343 milliliters worth, which is really just hovering under the 350 mark here. So that's actually what I'm going to do. All right. So first time doing, actually, we can also, because the only thing that's changing here is the developer. Everything else will stay the same. I'm still using Stop Bath. I'm still using Fixer. So let's actually get those ready to go. My Stop Bath and my Fixer times will remain the same. So let's do that up. Stop Bath. Fixer. Fixer can go over here. What I say? I said almost. I need 343 milliliters of water, so that's going to be just shy of 350 on here. Right under 350. So how the fuck am I going to get 7 milliliters of this developer out of this tiny ass little bottle? And our answer is a syringe. This is a 10 milliliter syringe, so I am going to get this down to 7. Okay. So yeah, we're doing new shit here, people. And the temperature of the developer has to be 22 degrees Celsius, which is almost, it's 71.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to need to warm up all of my chemicals to get to about 72. All right. We are about to break the ceremonial seal here. There we are. We have broken the sacred seal. Going up to 7. All right, we are at 7. These are my friends. See how they... No, okay. Can't go for too much longer on that, otherwise someone's going to slap me with a copyright strike. But here we are, 7 milliliters, and we're going to put this right on in. All right, I need a drop more water to bring this up to 350, not that much. Like another little all right, we're at 3. Oh, shit. I made too much. I made 450 instead of 350. All right. So now I got to recalculate that. So 450 milliliters. That's 15 ounces. So all right, I need another 2 milliliters. I need 9. Okay, 2 more. I looked at that and I went, wait a minute, that's not right. And it's because it's not right. Your boy added a few extra milliliters. Oh well, that's okay. Another 2. I just want to make sure that my proportions are correct. We're going to have some waste because that's going to wind up being 15 ounces in total, but that's fine. At least our proportions are correct, and that's all that I care about. Rinse off my thermometers. Let's put you in the fixer. Let's put you in the developer, and let's get our temperatures here. But again, thank you so much for spending some of your Wednesday evening with me. I very much enjoy the pleasure of your company. So thank you so much. I wasn't worried about how the Ilford roll was going to come out. I'm like, oh, ID 11, I do that all the time. This is the true experiment of the evening. So I am curious. So while that goes over here, yeah, we are, about 66 degrees. So I gotta warm that up by another 6. So let's do that. Because I really don't feel like doing calculation to figure out how much more time. So at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, it's 11 minutes, by the way. There we go. Incidentally, this is not a hair dryer. This is a photochemistry warming device. Apologies for the noise. But I need to get these up to 72. If I'm going to be doing something, new for the first time, I want to get it as close to right as I possibly can. Almost there, like 68 now. This is the part where I miss my old darkroom when I was a college student, because the photo lab was it was set up that each of the spigots in the sinks had thermostats, so you could get water that was exactly the temperature that you set it at. I miss those. So we do this the old-fashioned way, because I don't want to do math or look up a conversion chart. Another 30 seconds or so, and then carry over will bring it up, do the rest of the way. Like cooking. We're at 70 degrees now for these. Maybe another 30 seconds more. Oh yeah, of course anxious though, doing things around the house like, fixing the one chimney that isn't capped, or doing major work on the basement so that I don't get water features in the basement. No, install a thermostat. Install a thermostat for my photochemistry. That's the play. All right, we are just about there, actually. Like I said, now I'm just going to let carryover heat from the not hair dryer bring it up. In the meantime, I'm going to let the countdown timer start, because I said we need 11 minutes. So I'm going to just let that go, and by the time it gets to 11, we'll be ready. This is the unglamorous part of film developing, everyone. It is not a quick process. You need to have patience. This is something that I have been doing for, again, my first photo class was senior year of high school, 2003. So yeah, 23 years I've been doing this, and I still love it. Like every time I have developed hundreds and hundreds of rolls of film, and every time I do this, it feels a little bit like Christmas at the end because I have no idea if I fuck up or not. Every time. Yep, carryover brought us the rest of the way, so when that timer gets to 11 minutes, we will begin. I don't know if I mentioned this, but if any of you out there watching this evening have any questions, any photography related questions, or on how I do this, fire away. I don't bite. Not without consent, anyway. Consent is very important. Looks like we overshot a little bit on the fixer, but that's all right. That'll come down as we move along here. Developer is spot on. It is exactly at 22 degrees Celsius. So we are just about ready to go. It's a shorter tank, so I'm just going to drop you a little more. So on this particular developing tank, the funnel is not a snap-in type. It is a screw-in type. Away we go. 11 minutes. We are on. Agitation. I am so curious as to what this will do. So the roll I just developed previously, that was images shot at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, New York, one of the biggest cemeteries I've ever wandered into. And the one that I'm now developing, this one I shot this past weekend at the Old Dutch Church Cemetery in Kingston, New York. It's one of the oldest ones in the state. Because Kingston, New York was the first capital of New York State before it relocated to Albany. So there are headstones that date back from the late 1600s, early 1700s, and the first Reformed Dutch church is one of the oldest still extant church congregations in the country. It was established around 1680. That was when the first Dutch church was built. They are now on their 5th incarnation because, wars and natural disasters happened. So right now they're on the 5th such version of the church, which is built on top of the previous incarnation, and also some headstones, or burials, I should say. I'll show you some pictures that I shot on my cell phone when I do the photo editing stream. Some of the headstones in that cemetery they have an X on the back of them. It says inscribed X. And I was so curious because I'd never seen that before on any headstone or anything like that. And so the church was open that day. There was a barbecue going on. And I found one of the church volunteers who was also a local historian. And I asked, I said, some of these headstones have an X on the back of that. What does it mean? And he said that it means that body is not actually where the stone is. It means that the body is buried directly under the church. The stone's out, but the body is directly under the church. And so I guess the surviving family members, when they were building this church, I guess they were asked, do you want the stone out in front of the church, in the cemetery proper? And most of them said, yeah. But some of them did not or couldn't be reached, and so the stones also lie flat directly under the church where the body was. Has since decomposed by now. There was one such headstone that I took a picture of in which it is actually inscribed in Dutch, which I thought was just really cool. And, for the Hudson Valley, that is really to be expected. And this is a Protestant church, and it was so cool. Like, I had an emotional experience when I walked up to the church, because I got there around noon, and so we had the bells going. But the bells were playing the theme to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. They were playing Won't You Be My Neighbor. And I almost started crying. I was so moved by the fact that we had church bells playing Won't You Be My Neighbor. And it's like, God damn it, I miss Mr. Rogers so much. And on the flagpole, just outside the main entrance to the church, there were 3 flags. You had the American flag, but there was also a Progress Pride flag and a Black Lives Matter flag. And I was just like, you know what? Good on ya. Good on ya. Well done. You have made this very queer atheist Jew very proud. Oh. So I just noticed something while we've been here. So on the bottle of the developer itself, it says develop 1 to 49 at 22 degrees Celsius for 11 minutes. But the box of the film, I'll tell you in a minute. The box of the film says it gives me instructions on what the developing times are at 68, at 20 degrees Celsius. And so if I decided not to warm the chemicals up to 22 degrees Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit, at 68, the developing time is 12 minutes. So you add an extra minute onto the time. I will remember that. I was following the instructions on the bottle. So now I know. 11 minutes at 22 degrees Celsius, 72 Fahrenheit, or 12 minutes at 68 Fahrenheit, 20 Celsius. See, I try to do that, Anxious Joe, every time you watch me. Every time anyone watches me on a film developing stream or a photo editing stream, I always want to impart some fresh new knowledge to you. And again, thank you all so much for spending some of your Wednesday evening with me, as always. I enjoy the pleasure of your company. I love doing these. And if you ever want to shoot black and white film, everything you need is still very much available. It's all out there. Film's not hard to find. Chemicals are not hard to find. Gonna get ready for bed. We'll have a wonderful night, Low Base. Thank you so much for stopping by. I will be doing the same once I am done here, so sleep well, my friend. I was glad to actually shoot some film because so far in 2026 I've done a lot more selling of my photography than I have created it, which is fine. I mean, I've done 5 big gay markets, and I've been loving every moment of it. So. In fact, at the most recent big gay market that I vended at, which was 3 weeks ago now? 3 weeks? Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. It was the first market that I had some repeat customers, number one, but my final customer of the day before I started closing up shop was this trans girl. And she was so delighted when I identified the necklace that she was wearing. She was wearing a necklace that had a pendant in the shape of the Monado, which is the sword from Xenoblade Chronicles. And she was, like, her eyes lit up and everything, like, someone recognized it! Oh my god, someone knows what the Monado is. And we chatted for a bit, and she bought one of my prints. She also had a free hugs pin. So I asked for a free hug, and I got one. And she was so funny. She's like, I love women so much, I became one. And I'm like, all right, you win. It was a great market. Downtown Albany is very good to me. All right, we're winding down here. Time to get ready for the stop bath. Okay. All right. Huh. That is interesting. It comes out the color of grape juice. Never seen that before. Okay. Well, I, for one, am immensely curious. It went in clear, and it came out looking like grape juice. Interesting. I figured you'd like that story, Anxious now. You know, maybe perhaps one of these days when you come visit me, it'll be the weekend of a market, and you can join me at the booth. do 10 more of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Time for Fixer. I've never seen that on a developer before. That is okay. And yeah, the temperature of our fixer did come down to exactly where we needed it to be. So here we go again, fixer. Yep. I have to smell it just to make sure. Like, does it smell like potent vinegar? Yep. All right. There we go. Well, my next big game market will be in October. Okay. Two, one. Once again, apologies for the forced capitalism Twitch makes me do it. But if you'd like to support me, every penny I earn on Twitch goes right back into my photography. So if the spirit moves you, you can throw me some bits. You can choose to subscribe and get access to emotes, and you can dodge all the ads. Again, if the spirit moves you. I know money's tight. Well, we will absolutely talk more about that, Anxious Doe. Yeah. Again, my tap water right now is running at full. It's on full cold, and it is getting no colder than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Yay, summer. I should actually keep this box in case I want to buy another roll of Adox, depending on how the results turn out. All right. Let's dump out the fixer. All right. First rinse. Let's get the wash aid ready. Where's my wash aid? There it is. Hope you're all enjoying the nice video game lo-fi music. Only the best lo-fi music for my audience. Alright, coming up at the end of the first rinse. All right. And again, if I didn't have the other two chemicals, this would be, I would have this running under the sink for 15, 20 minutes or so. But we do not, so. Pour the wash aid in, and then get my arm workout for 2.5 minutes. Yeah, the next big game market I'm doing is Sunday, October 4th, which is the day after my wedding anniversary. I need to actually start thinking about what images I'm going to be selling at this next market, because after 5 markets, I'm going to take a look to see which images have not sold very well, and I'm going to swap those out. Because it's October, I'm probably going to load up more on my cemetery images and my scary, spoopy cosplay images. The Resident Evil cosplay images might go over very well as some of the Vampire the Masquerade themed ones. But I've got time to think about that. I've got a little over 2 months to think about that. that's kind of what I'm hoping for. That Dead Things in October will do pretty well for me. All right, wash shade is done. Final rinse coming up. There we go. There, now it looks. That's what I was trying to show before with the other one. That's what it looks like after a full spin with the wash shade. It looks soapy. It looks like it's soap, but it isn't. And depending on how much residual fixer was still hanging around, this can come out with a slight purplish looking hue. But there we are. All right, let's get you going. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Oh, it is getting near my bedtime, not gonna lie. Especially since I have to be in the office tomorrow. It has been a day. I was very glad that, work wasn't busy, but, with the lake that was in my basement earlier today, it made for a bit of a harrowing day. I am looking forward to some well-deserved shut-eye. I may not bother putting my entire PC setup back in my office. I might just be like, you know what? Nope. I'm done. I'm calling it a night. I'm going to check the basement one more time. And then I am just going to go to bed. I am tired. All right. While this is going on, let's do some more cleanup. Yeah, I wanted to do the stream anyway because I knew that my next opportunity to do so would be 2 weeks from now. And I really wanted to get these rolls developed so that I could see what was on them. And after the day I had, I was looking forward to this. It was like, yes. Let me have something fun and positive to take out of today. So, here we are. All right. Let's just dump the rest of that out. What are we at? A little less than 2 minutes. Minute and a half left on this final rinses. Whatever here. So once the film is dried, it'll dry overnight. I will probably scan these. I'll probably scan these at some point Friday, maybe over the weekend, and then 2 weeks or so will be the photo editing stream, provided I have something to edit. That first roll looked pretty good, so we'll see. So what I do with all of my scan negatives, for those of you who are unfamiliar with how I do my photo editing streams, so I scan all my negatives using a flatbed scanner that can scan negatives at very high resolution. And that's what I use. I import those into Capture One and edit using that and Affinity Photo. Affinity Photo 2, not current Affinity, not the version that is owned by Canva. Because fuck that shit. I am so mad that Serif sold out to Canva. Like, can't we have anything nice? I do not want to end tonight's stream on a rant. Is this Ilford? Yes, it is. So let's pour some of you. Again, just enough to cover the film. It was like, God damn it, I started using Affinity to get away from Adobe, and then the owners of Affinity sold to Canva, and I'm like, fucking damn it! I don't want this generative AI bullshit in my life. And so I use Capture One now. Capture One and old Affinity. Like, I still have the version of Affinity, the last version before Canva bought it. So, all right, we are about to see what we got from this roll from a company that I never even heard of or whatever until a couple months ago. So let's see what we got. Let's pour out the Ilford Tall. Let's see if I fucked this up. What have we here? Well, I see negatives. Oh yeah, there's definitely a couple of underexposed ones on here. I can see that. But there's some promising stuff on here. All right. All right. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to bring this upstairs and get it going in to dry. All right. Well, that's it. That is it for tonight. We have developed 2 rolls of film. Both of them will look very promising. They both look like I have at least developed them correctly and properly. I am very curious to see what will actually come up when I scan these in a few days. So all that remains for me to do at this point is to clean up, and I'm going to be doing that off stream. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's proceedings. I hope you learned something. I hope you just enjoyed watching how the sausage gets made, so to speak. I mean, this is something that I do pretty regularly. I mean, black and white film is my first love. So it is something I very, very much enjoy doing. So let's see if there's anyone I can bring the party over to. Let's see if there's any art streamers going on right now that I can bring you all over to. So it looks like my friend Ursa, let's see, we've got Ursa and we've got Foi. So let's bring the party over to Ursa Crafta. What are they doing at the moment? They are doing some sketching and opening new sketchbox supplies. Alrighty. Let's bring you on over to Ursa Crafta. So we're gonna go from photography to some drawing. So again, thank you so much for spending some of your Wednesday evening with me. Come on back tomorrow for video games as I continue my playthrough of Ori and the Blind Forest. So that'll be starting around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, okay, well, until I see you guys again, stay healthy, stay safe, love ya, good night, and joy be with you all, everyone. Be well, and I will see you next time.